Most people build powerful automations inside of n8n, but they look like this. What if you can add a custom UI that's clean, that's clickable, and a dashboard that clients are willing to pay for? In this video, I'll show you how I wrapped my n8n automations into a clean user interface that's completely automated, that uses AI, and the best part of it is that you don't even need to write a single line of code. So for this example, I've got an AI blog creator, and you can see that I have the automation here inside of n8n, and for the trigger, we have a webhook. So this is actually waiting for a trigger event. So I'm gonna head over back to the landing page here, and we just need to enter some details. So for the blog topic, I'm just gonna talk about Tesla's Optimus. The target audience is going to be tech nerds. Tone of voice, I'm going to do friendly, and then for the desired length, I'm just going to do short because I'm recording a video, so I don't want it to take too long. But you can add as many words as you want. You can even customize this drop down here. And then if you want to add a call to action, which is a great idea if you are going to create blog posts because you want your users, your readers to take some kind of action, right? Now that could be downloading a PDF or downloading a link or signing up to a newsletter. It could be whatever you want it to be. And if you want some optional keywords, so if you are targeting a specific type of keyword in the SEO, you can also add that. I'm just going to leave that blank for now. And there are additional notes here as well. So once that's all filled in, all you need to do is hit on submit, and then it will trigger the automation inside of n8n. So now the webhook has received the payload. It's now using the AI agent that's plugged into Google Gemini 2.5 Pro. It's going to create the blog title and the blog post using Perplexity, because Perplexity can actually search the internet and it can find the latest, the greatest information and access it pretty quickly. And then it's going to generate it and post it into Slack. So here's the blog post, and it's not a bad job actually. Here's the title. So Tesla's Optimus robot is already working in factories, which is true. And then it's actually got the blog post. Now, remember, you can optimize this. You can create any type of content. You can output it anywhere you want. I'm just showing you inside of Slack, so because I'm recording a video. But in a production environment with a client, you can plug it into their Slack. You can email it to them. You can put it into a blog platform like WordPress or Webflow or something like that, and send it to draft. Or you can put it onto Airtable, Google Sheets, whatever you want to do. So to build a UI, UX, no-code application like this, you want to head over to Firebase Studio. And I've actually covered Firebase Studio on a previous video. I think it's definitely one of the best no-code vibe coding platforms out there. And the best part of it is that it's completely free. It's by Google, and you can actually host it on their Firebase servers. So I called mine BlogForge AI, and this is the prompt. So you are an AI blog generator powered by Firebase Studio. Collect the following inputs and send the payload to, and then this is the webhook inside of n8n. And I'll show you how to create the automation using the webhook in a sec. So for the form fields, I've asked it to give it these form fields. So blog topic, target audience, the tone, desired length, and the goal of the blog post. Now, again, the inputs can be whatever you want it to be. You can add more. You can take some of these away. Just remember that this is a prompt, right? So just make sure that you add context and you give it some detail. The secret to writing great AI prompts is that you want to be contextual, but you want it to give it guardrails, but you also want to give it some examples, right? So I've given it all that in this here. I've also included a call to action. That's obviously mandatory, but you can add that. Bear in mind, you can actually create this for any type of situation. So think of social media content, blog content, Quora, Reddit, whatever you want to do, and you can modify this. And then I went down and I told it that the web configuration is going to be the webhook, and that's a post. And then this is the actual webhook that I'm using inside of n8n. And then I wanted to send a payload. Now this is optional. You don't actually have to do this. I'm very familiar with JSON, so I've actually included this in there. You could just say, create some relevant dynamic fields and send the payload back to n8n. You can do that. That's completely fine. I just want it to be as quick and as clean as possible without having to go back and forth and iterating the build. So I just wanted to reduce the steps, but this is not mandatory. And then what it does is it will actually prototype it. And that's one thing I love about Firebase Studio. It will actually prototype it. So before you press send and it creates the entire project, it will give you a prototype. If you're not happy with the prototype, you can actually go back and forth, edit it. You can change the color scheme, you can change typography, you can change the output of the forms, you can add more inputs. It's very customizable, right? Before anything is built. And this is what helps Firebase Studio stand apart from the noise and the competition, because a lot of these platforms don't do that, right? They just get the prompt, enter it into their AI engine, and then they start building it. So this is the blueprint here. It's called BlogForge AI. I just let Firebase Studio give it a name. You can call it whatever you want. You can even change it after it's been built. So don't worry about that too much. You probably want to call it whatever your client's business name is. So if it's something like BlogForge, that's the company name. You might want to call it BlogForge AI or BlogForge social media or whatever, right? And then it's got the form inputs. It's got the AI blog generation. I actually created a blog post inside of the form, which I didn't want it to do, but I wasn't really specific in the prompt. So I actually took that out later, and you'll see that in the subsequent prompting that went back and forth. And then you got blog display, again, you don't need that. Copy to clipboard, again, you don't need that. The color scheme, I just let the AI, Gemini generate that. And then it's giving me typography. Again, you can select any type of typography. I just let the AI generate it for me. And iconography, you can actually, create logos for this. You can actually add and upload your own logos if you wanted to do that. And you can also change the UI by taking screenshots of your favorite apps or your favorite websites. You can upload that into Firebase Studio and tell it to use that as a template. Then you can see it's got a stack, which is Gemini, GenKit, and it's got all the UI, which is TypeScript, Next.js, Tailwind, CSS. This is everything that's all the libraries and all the backend programming that's required for building a website like this. And then it's done the prototypes. You've got it all here. You've got all the backend files, and then I've added a Gemini API key, which by the way is free inside of Firebase Studio. You just have to generate one. And then I went back and forth, right? So I said I don't need to generate the blog post. This is just an intake form, and it did it all that, right? So basically, it got to an output like this, which is very clean, very modern, and this is something that's very easy to sell. Once the form was submitted, I actually added a success message. So it said check your Slack channel for the blog title and post. If you have a Slack channel or whatever the output is with your client, you can actually hyperlink that into the message. So the Slack channel could be, Blogforge AI or whatever the company's name is, right? And you could just hyperlink that here. So to build an app like this, you're going to need the webhook. That's the trigger. So if you click inside of here, the webhook is this address here, and the method is post. Okay, now this is a test URL. If you want to go live, you want to switch to production, it's going to change it to production URL, and you can then plug that into the live UI inside of Firebase Studio. For everything else, you just leave it the same. So once it receives the payload through the webhook, you're going to get an output like this. And this is everything that the app on Firebase Studio has sent to n8n. The next node is the AI agent, and this is where all the magic happens inside of n8n. This is everything that's kind of black box, that's kind of under the hood, and you want to keep it that way because this is how you're going to sell it to clients. So for the prompt, we're going to define it below, and we've just got a few dynamic fields here. So the topic, which is just topic from here. So I'm literally just dragging and dropping these, and this is all data that's been sent from the form. So I've got test as Optimus, the audience is tech nerds, tone is friendly, and I've just literally just spaced this out, and you can see on here on the right hand side, if it's green, it's worked. If it's null, there's no field there, it means I didn't submit it or the client didn't submit it on the form. If you don't see anything, that's completely fine. It's not going to break the automation by any means. And then we want to toggle on require specific output format. You'll see why in a second. And then with all AI agents, you're going to need a system message. So let me just bring this up. This is the most important part of this automation because this is what's going to generate the output. So again, if you know me well, if you've been following this channel, you know that if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So spend a bit of time inside the prompt, right? This is the moneymaker. This is the part of the automation that's going to generate the most ROI for you and for the client. So the prompt is you are an AI content agent. Well, it's not actually a school community, but let me just put a blog. Your task is to generate a full blog posts that are research-backed, engaging, and optimized for ROI. Use the Perplexity tool to search the web and gather fresh, relevant insights and before writing, right? So I've just given it some context, like how do I want the style? Now, again, this is going to be dependent on your style. If you want to use emojis, if you don't use emojis, take it out. This is the way I've input it in here. And then guidelines, I've just given it, hook the readers in the first 2 lines, use emojis. Emojis aren't always professional, but I find that they help with engagement. They definitely help with, click-through rates and engagement and, grabbing attention, which is what content is all about. And then I basically told it to respond in this exact JSON format, which is title and post. It's going to generate those 2 fields and then output the text with no reasoning. Do not use markdown format in the text. And so because I've got the 2 fields, right, it's going to generate that. So it's got title field, which is a string, and it's got post field. And these are the 2 outputs. The next you want to do is you want to add a language model. Now I'm using Gemini Pro 2.5 for this because it's free. It's actually completely free. So head over to Google Gemini, grab your API key, just create a new connection for this, and you're going to be able to use it. If you want to use a faster model, then you might want to try out Flash Lite. The output isn't as good, but the response rate, the time it takes to generate this is lightning fast. It's probably the fastest language model that I've tested. But I'm going to use a 2.5 because this is quality. This is more about the quality of the blog post. So if I was to go into production with this to sell this to a client, then I'd want to focus on more about quality than time and speed. And the next node is going to be a Perplexity node because we are researching the web. You probably want to do the same thing if you're going to write content or blog posts for clients or for yourself. And so I've connected to Perplexity AI. And for the model, I obviously use Sonar, but you probably want to test out Deep Research or Pro. They are going to take longer, but the output's generally better. But just bear in mind that the token cost is slightly higher, which means that your overall cost is going to be higher. And then the last node that you're going to need is a structured parser node because I've generated 2 variables. One is title, one is post. And so what that means is that I can actually use that later downstream, which I am doing inside of the Slack node. So you can see here that the title is this field here, and then a post is this one here, okay? You can leave this blank inside of these comments here because the AI agent will actually plug in with whatever it's created. Or you can use placeholders, it doesn't really matter. And then the output, again, this could be whatever you decide it to be. I've just used Slack, so just create a Slack node here. We're gonna send to a channel, just select the channel from the list. It's a simple text message. And then for the output, all I've set it to do, and if I go into the expression here, is here's the blog title and post, and then I've just copied the two fields over here, the dynamic fields, so title and post. And you can see this is the output that I showed you inside of the Slack channel. And you know it's green because it's worked. And if you're not happy with it, you can always go back and modify the prompt before you send it out to the Slack channel or wherever your output's going to be. And one last requirement before you head off is that make sure that you add a human in the loop step. Whenever you're creating content for yourself or your clients, specifically for your clients, you definitely want a human to look at the content and, approve the content, right? And there's several ways you can do that. If you're going to send this to something like WordPress or Webflow, which is like a blogging platform, then you can actually send it as a draft, right? It's not going to be published. And so you can manually check that, or the client can manually check that. And if they're not happy with it, they can, make modifications and whatnot. You can also send it to something like Airtable or Google Sheets. Again, you can have an editor process in there, both between yourself and your client. And you can actually automate that. So once they're happy with the content, they can then change the status on the Google Sheet to then publish it. And you can automate the entire process from the moment the status has been published. And if you love this automation, click on the link in the video description and sign up for my private school community. We've got a ton of content in here, including this automation. I've also talked about various ways I generate $10,000 a month with my AI agency. So the link is in the description below. And before you sign off, please do me a favor, like the video if you enjoyed it, sign up to the channel if you're not a subscriber, turn your notifications on, and I'll see you next time. Take care.